What's up, guys? What's happening? How's everybody doing? We're smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, greats, overachieving, never slacking. And if you're new to the channel, I love dragons, so that's my motto. That's what I say. That's my little mantra. So yeah, that's just me. But with that being said, today we got Americans in England. 10 British habits I've adopted after 6 months in the UK. And I ain't finna waste no time. Original link in the description. Let's get to it. Here we go. Actually, hold on. Let me give a shout out real quick. This is from the Magic Geekdom. That's the profile. So, yeah, shout out to the Magic Geekdom. Here we go.
After spending 6 months in the UK last year and being home for about 6 months now from our travels throughout Europe, today we're going to talk about the specifically British habits that we've adopted, or at least I've adopted. I feel like mostly these are mine, but I don't know, you can chime in and let me know how you feel as we go through the list. And I should also say that not all of these are habits, but I think some of them are general feelings and changes that I feel different about since we've been back.
Okay.
Number 10 is using an electric kettle. And I guess to add a layer to that is not microwaving my water. It's actually a funny story because when we first met, and when we first moved in together about 10 years ago, we were doing some shopping for things that we wanted to put in our house together. And Jeremy found an electric kettle, and I felt very weird about it. I was like, why do we need that?
I just kind of wanted one. I mean, from watching British things, and there's an American chef, Alton Brown, who also recommended having one, and I was a big fan of his. And it was on clearance at the department store we were at, and it just seemed like something, I want to try having one of these. And yeah, you kind of made fun of me.
I did. I teased him a little bit. In my defense, the duration that we had that electric kettle, I didn't really use it very often. I would occasionally use it to boil water to make my coffee, my French press. But I still had the tendency to microwave water for tea, all the time. All the time. Yeah. And it wasn't until we were in the UK long term and I got so used to it. Every hotel has an electric kettle.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's weird because coming back here,
I don't think I've ever used one in my life, ever.
And staying in hotels, it's like, where's that electric kettle? I feel like it's something that until we were really immersed in the culture of the UK, I didn't really ever understand. I didn't get it, but now I do. And since we got our own place, I got a tea kettle for our stove and an electric kettle. Yeah, so we now have both options. No more microwaving water for me.
No.
I didn't know it was such a faux pas.
Just don't.
I'm also realizing that we took footage of the electric tea kettle section when we were shopping in Target, and there were only 2 total tea kettle options at our Target here in the US. Whereas the coffee makers, there were about 50 different offerings. They're not completely uncommon, but you can buy any number of 400 coffee makers or one of 2 options for tea kettles. I guess this kind of segues into drinking a lot more tea. Now, I've always been a fan of tea.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, since I kind of dabbled with it as a kid. When we were actually in the UK, I don't feel like I really immersed myself in the tea culture there. At a hotel, I would have it if they had it.
We did go to afternoon tea a few times.
We did, but I didn't really have it every single day.
No.
Or really dabble in the different kinds there were. And I feel like now that we've been back, I've really been experimenting. I've been buying a lot more Twinings, which is the main British.
Twining sounds delicious. I haven't had tea in a while. I actually used to drink a lot of tea, but for some reason it's so weird. It just makes one of my tooth just feels kind of weird. I don't know if it's because I drink it hot. Maybe I need to cool it down, or I don't know. I'm more of a coffee guy for sure.
Brand that you can find in the US, and I've been enjoying it. I even bought a diffuser from a British lady at the local farmers market, and I've been experimenting with different
loose teas.
Yeah, loose teas too. So I definitely feel like I've adopted that habit. I've gotten more into it since we've been back, at least.
Well, it's part of one of your favorite things there.
What?
Cream tea.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love cream tea. It is one of my favorite things. So it feels appropriate that I've come home and been much more into tea than I used to be.
That's fair, yeah.
We recently, because we have really, the only brand I really remember trying there for sure is the Yorkshire tea.
Yeah.
And so we recently asked our viewers, we asked you guys what your favorite brand of tea was, and we got a lot of great responses. We are trying to still collect them. We've got quite a few teas to try, so look out for that video soon. Yeah. And I think this is a both of us. This is not just a me habit. This is a both of us. And that is watching more British television.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were both fans of certain things before we went.
Yeah.
I got you into Doctor Who. I grew up around my dad that watched a lot of British comedies as a kid, so I watched Mr. Bean and Red Dwarf and stuff like that, but I think things like the game shows and the panel shows and stuff like that I had not really seen until we went there.
Yeah, it's funny because I can remember the first video that we made on our first trip to the UK. We came back to the US and we made a video called Things We Love About the UK. And I remember one of the things that we fell in love with on
I'm gonna have to go check that video out.
our first trip was like British game shows and panel shows. They're so fun. They're so enjoyable. They're funnier. There's always comedians involved in them. Like we don't do game shows like that where like a comedian is on the panel like that, you know? Since we've been back, we've just been watching whatever we can find. Like episodes of Pointless or we watched Johnny Marr on one of those, the lying one. Yeah, Would I Lie to You? And that was enjoyable. Yeah, I just feel like whatever we can get our hands on, we like to watch. I think that Bargain Hunt, I think that's what it's called, the one where they go and they try to like thrift something and then they auction it and see who gets a better price on it. There's just so many British shows that while we were there, I feel like we really immersed ourselves in, and I very much enjoy them.
The House of Games, the Richard Osman one. He's like the co-host on Pointless.
Yeah.
They look pretty good. I might have to look into some. I might certain shows I could tell are really big hits. Like it's the vibe. Like looking at this right here, I bet you this show that's on right here, this clip, I bet you it's a good show.
Yes.
Oh, and Taskmaster.
Yes. Oh, that's a great point. If you are American and you haven't really ever watched a lot of British TV, I think Taskmaster is a great place to start.
Yeah, it's a good entry point.
It's a good entry point. Not only is it a very enjoyable, funny show, but it's available on YouTube, so you can easily watch it in the US, where like a lot of the other ones, it's like, how do we find this?
So like use a VPN or just like find clips on YouTube or something, but there's full episodes that they actually put up on YouTube, which is great.
Yep, I agree. Taskmaster is great. We got tickets to see Greg Davis in in the UK next spring. So hopefully we'll be back for that. I don't know, we haven't made any plans, but
other than you bought tickets.
I bought tickets, so maybe we'll be there.
I swear they're like soul twins. Looking at them, like their chemistry, it's like they both know each other to a T.
So yes, we have definitely been enjoying some British television, even as far as we've gone back and been watching some older Doctor Who. And I don't know, there's something about British television that is more enjoyable to me, and I think especially coming back, I have been avoiding the American news cycle completely as part of kind of what we've been choosing to watch on TV, and it's just...
That sounds a lot healthier too, because American news stuff is it's too toxic.
It's been a much more sane experience.
I bet.
There's some things I still gotta get you into.
Yeah, we'll see. If you guys have any recommendations for shows that we should check out, because Jeremy sounds like he has a list of things, but maybe you have some classics that we should check out. Like, I think there's a few that people have told us about, like one that has like Del Boy. Is that a person?
Yes, that's
Only
Fools and
yes. Like, should we watch that? And should we start at the beginning? Is it worth watching now? I don't know. There's all these classic shows that I've never seen, and I'm not sure where we should start. We also met a couple who watches our channel last year when we were in Lincoln, and they recommended that we visit Holmfirth in Yorkshire. Told us that it was a filming location of Last of the Summer Roses, and that maybe we should also watch the show. And I had never heard of it until they had recommended it, and we still have not watched it, but I guess it's a long-running comedy on the BBC, so should we watch it? Should we check it out? let us know. I want to take a second to thank our patrons for supporting our channel and thank our subscribers. We've had a lot of recent subscribers recently and a couple new Patreon members. So thank you all for being a part of the channel, being a part of the community. And if you're watching this video and you
New subscriber gonna be right here. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and subscribe to y'all right now.
haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really does help us out.
And you can see more videos.
Yeah.
They'll send them to you.
They'll show them. They'll suggest them.
I guess they don't send them to you. They'll put them in front of you.
YouTube's like, hello, Peter. Here's the one we think you will like. The next couple are primarily me, because I'm the one that did driving in the UK.
Yeah,
I'm the driver here. Roundabout etiquette. So we do have roundabouts in the US.
They're becoming more common.
They're more common. They're still not as nearly as common as in the UK, but I have noticed that since we've gotten back, I use my turn signal or my turn indicator a lot more than I just don't think it's standard practice. And, you know, driving in the States is a unique thing because every state has different laws and regulations and things, so it kind of depends on the state that you're in. But
driving in the States is like going through different worlds constantly. It's crazy. Especially if you ever drove from like the Northeast to, say, like New York to Florida. Whew, different worlds.
I have noticed that I will definitely use my indicator when I am exiting a roundabout to let people know which direction I'm going, and that is a thing I never used to do. I also think it's more common in the UK to kind of use like your left turn signal or your right turn signal to kind of, as you're going into the intersection or the roundabout, to tell people where you are going. I think that would confuse people here. I don't know if Americans would understand what I'm doing if I use my left turn signal in a roundabout, but I do use it to let people know which lane I'm getting out of or which road I'm turning off on. And that is something I never did before, ever.
Dubai is hot, but I come in.
These videos are awesome. I just have so much gratitude for so much that I learned watching these videos.
To kind of tack on to that, I'm also going to say driving etiquette. I've developed better driving habits from our experience in the UK, and also I've learned that I have some frustrations with American driving etiquette since returning to the UK. So it's kind of like a dual thing. But on freeways or motorways in the UK, it is, I think it's a law. I don't think you're supposed to pass, or I guess it's called undertake. Like you're not supposed to use the lane, the slowest lane to pass a vehicle. And people do that in the US.
Yes,
and it's like,
a lot.
and usually they're going like 90 miles an hour when they do it.
Yeah,
and
it's not smart.
It's not great. And
not legal, actually.
Yeah. Every time we've been to the UK, I mean, there are a few exceptions, but overall, generally speaking, you pass the vehicle that you need to, and then you get back over. And a lot of times, people will just drive in the fast lane for the bulk of the duration, and then you have people undertaking them and going around them. And I feel like I used to be someone who would just drive down the fastest lane, and I would get over if someone came up behind me, but I would just drive down it just like I'm driving in this lane. And now I don't ever do that. I almost immediately get over every time. It's just become a habit for me to pass the vehicle I'm passing and then get back over, which is interesting. I mean, I don't love the driving etiquette here. I don't know of any state that you'll actually get pulled over for passing incorrectly.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I think it is illegal pretty much everywhere, but I don't see that they pull you over just for that usually.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing is speeding. I used to speed a lot more than I do now, and I think that's because in the UK there are speed cameras everywhere, and so
they're harsher on you about it.
Yeah, you don't really see police, you know, like speed traps waiting to pull you over.
You just get a ticket in the mail.
Yeah, so, but you really have to go the speed limit everywhere, where it's like here, it's because it's like up to the police officer who sees you, generally. It's up to to the person that would be giving you a ticket to give you a ticket. So I think it's a little more like loose here, where going 5 miles over the speed limit is a standard thing. I think what's
people be going all out. People could be going all out speeding. I ain't gonna lie.
interesting is I just in general feel like I used to get more aggressive while driving. Like I would get frustrated at someone and like undertake them or something. And now that we've spent a lot of time in the UK, I just feel so much more chill about driving.
Perfect example. You can turn right on a red light here in the US, where you cannot do that in the UK. No red on red. And shortly after we got back from the UK, I was in a lane turning right, and it was by my parents' house. It's in an area I grew up, and I was going to make a right-hand turn, and there was a red light, and I just sat there and patiently waited for it to turn green, and people behind me started honking at me, and I was just like, you know what? I just don't even want to turn yet. I'm so chill now. I just don't even want to turn on a red light. And I feel like that made me very much feel like I have a much more chill attitude about driving than I did before.
I do tend to talk a lot on this channel about how intimidating the narrow roads in the UK can be, but I do have to give credit to the motorways because it is so much more of a pleasurable experience to drive on the motorways. And I think people are just a little bit more courteous on the roads, which I feel like I've adopted. Number 4 is, I feel like, a very controversial one.
Okay.
And that is using a knife and fork. I said that right? Yeah, that's the proper way to say it. If you say it the other way around, I guess it sounds like you could be swearing. As Americans, we eat with our forks. That's pretty much it. And sometimes, if I want to use a knife, I will put my fork in my left hand, and use my knife in my right hand and cut what I need to, and then switch those back. I had no idea that we ate so differently, that our meal etiquette was so different in the US until we went to the UK, and we've had so many people tell us how we eat weird. And it makes sense, I get it.
Y'all gonna think I eat like a Neanderthal? However you pronounce it. Y'all gonna think I eat like that, cause I don't really eat steak like that. But I mean, I don't think I've ever used a fork. I mean, not a fork. Sorry, a knife. Like I probably played around joking, but I don't know. I don't know. I think we might be savages in the U.S., man.
As Americans, like, this is what we're used to. This is the way that we do it. And I feel like going there and being there more often, though, I definitely have adopted using my
Knife and fork.
Yeah.
More correctly?
More, exactly. I use it a lot more. I think people still sometimes tell us about how we use it weird because I'll still use the fork like a spoon instead of like stabbing it and using it with like the tong, like, I don't know, what I would consider.
I would have been, And also I think once again it has to do with, like I've spoken about many times, our lifestyles and how everything with Americans is really quick and fast. I feel like we're in a rush a lot, so we tend to we don't really think about all the extra stuff. We just, let me gulp this down, I got stuff to do.
Tines upside down, the tongs. Tines. But yes, I have. I mean, I think you have too, right? Like you use it a lot more.
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
I think we
I
still.
believe you.
I think we still eat American sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, last night we went to a restaurant and I don't even know if they gave us a knife, or maybe just what we were eating didn't require a knife.
No, they had knives.
Oh, I just didn't use it then.
It was just like a butter knife.
Yeah, but a lot of times that's what happens. Like, you'll go to a restaurant and they'll just give you a fork.
Yeah.
And that's how we eat. That's what we do. But I do feel like I eat less like an American, although probably still use a little bit like an American.
Fair.
I've definitely adopted the habit of using a knife a lot more than I ever did before.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily as much of a habit. It's just more something I guess it's a habit. I've been doing it a lot more. And that is being more conscientious about what is in food. And I guess, like, that's checking labels more and everything.
Just thinking.
That's actually really good. That's really a really good thing to pick up, because a lot of things have definitely cause cancer, and stuff like that. So that's really, really good.
Get away with a lot more stuff here than
Yeah.
they can in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, we could make a whole video about this because you guys have let us know a lot of things about differences and things that are banned and, you know, just
chemicals that you can't use.
Differences in our food supply, and it is quite alarming. And I think probably a lot of you telling us about things is probably how we've become more conscious about it, and also partly because you know, we go to M&S or Tesco and look at something and it's like, oh, this has 4 ingredients in it. And then you get home and you're like, oh, this same thing has 12 ingredients and I don't recognize the names of 11 of them. Yeah. We bought Worcestershire sauce for a video and I ended up looking up our American Worcestershire sauce versus, I just went on Tesco's website, found one, and looked at the ingredients. And it's like everything in the Tesco one is onion and onion and malt vinegar, and ours is like, I don't even know, but it was like, oh, these are not the same. I don't know how our gravy with Worcestershire sauce is gonna turn out, but it's definitely made me look at labels a lot more. I've gotten much more into the habit of that.
That's good.
And
that's real good.
It's kind of alarming. I mean, for example, we were looking for a recipe for sausage for, I guess it was kind of like a keto adjacent recipe. And I was trying to find sausage that didn't have sugar in it. And I couldn't find a single sausage at the grocery store that didn't have sugar in it. And I just thought, that's so strange. It's so strange. We've ended up spending a lot more time at our local farmers market and buying a lot more things from there just because not only are we supporting a local business, but it's like, oh, these are more natural things. They're not going to be using some weird ingredient I've never heard of. Do you have anything else about that?
Seen people from the UK refer to our bread as cake for a similar reason because it has sugar in it.
Yeah.
Your bread is different and better.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I think we've also had a lot of people in the UK tell us that bread or Europeans even in general tell us that breads in other places in Europe are better than the UK. And I think while that is probably true in a lot of cases, they're all still way better than ours. Most of them that you can find in the US. There is a local company back in the area I'm from called Dave's Killer Bread that makes exceptionally great bread, and I would trust, I don't know that I've ever actually had their white bread, but I would trust that their white bread is probably not cake. Better. Yeah.
Well, you know, along the same lines, we have bought bread from like our farmer's market recently, and it is just a world of difference.
Yes, that bread was so good.
Yeah, it was really good.
It tasted like European bread. I was like, are we in Germany right now? This bread is so good. I said not using AC, air conditioning, aircon, whatever you prefer to call it. I just never even thought about it before. I mean, we were in the South. In Florida, you kind of need it. It's like swampy and gross. And I would just leave it on all the time.
Yeah, especially during the summer.
And it wasn't until we went to the UK and I mean, it was the first time we were there in summer. We were there all summer long. There was a heat wave during that time frame. And I think just us having the windows open, we were like, this is so hot. And we had a lot of our viewers tell us, yeah, but aircon is so bad for the environment. Why would you need it for the, 2 weeks of the year that we have this extreme heat? And it's like, wow, that's a great point. We've had people tell us that houses are built in the UK to keep heat in. And so that's why, I mean, we had an extreme sweltering couple weeks when we were in Cheltenham. It was truly like probably the most miserable of our time there. But then at the same time, like we understood. I get it. It's like, I understand now.
Since we got back from the UK and Europe, we got a place in Arizona, which is...
A man is dead.
They clearly love living in hot places. Florida, Arizona, I mean, hot.
Pretty warm in general, but the area we're in is a little cooler, and we really haven't been using the air conditioner until the last couple weeks where it's been pretty warm again.
It was in the 80s, and we had just the doors open and we were letting the breeze happen. And I feel like...
It was pleasant.
Yeah, it was pleasant. And it wasn't until it got into the upper 90s that we decided we should turn our AC on.
Turn the AC on.
If we had been in this situation before going to the UK like we did,
I think we would have turned the
Probably
AC
would've.
on day one.
Yeah.
Because
it's
we
very
just wouldn't have
possible.
thought about it.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that at the time, in those 2 weeks of extreme heat, I was like, oh, why is it so hot in here? But I feel like it definitely taught me a lesson of we don't need our aircon as much as I think we do. And I mean, in our current situation,
Yeah.
I think in the South, it's a little bit different of a story because it gets pretty hot and humid.
Yeah.
But it gets pretty humid in the UK too, as we learned. So good on you guys for enduring those extreme summer temperatures because they're not fun.
No, they're not. They can be pretty nasty.
To tack onto that, I said being more environmentally conscious in general. I feel that before we spent a lot of time in Europe, that I felt pretty environmentally conscious.
Yeah, I think in terms of Americans, we both probably were fairly.
Yeah, and then you go to Europe and you're like, oh wow, we are really not as environmentally conscious as we even think we are.
Yeah.
The area I'm from, they have a plastic bag ban. So there are situations where there are steps being taken,
Yeah.
but I think we still are kind of further behind the rest of
Yeah, no, I
the
would
world
agree. Yeah.
in terms of that.
I'd say we're behind by a lot. But that's my personal opinion.
But I think that's one thing that since we've been back, I've really tried to be more conscious about that. I mean, I think about even just like the plastic bags. Like in the US, we just have these flimsy plastic bags that are like you use them one time and you throw them away and like, oh, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, you pay for it.
And it's either a very reusable bag or at least a higher quality plastic one that you can still reuse.
And we actually even had people tell us that you can go and trade them back in.
Yeah, like Sainsbury and
Yeah. But
Tesco or things like that.
yeah, the Waitrose bag that we got is such a nice, durable bag.
Yeah.
Like, we still use that bag. I mean, we still have most of them that we got in the UK. And they're so much better quality. You can tell that they were meant to be used more than once. And I think that kind of speaks to the single plastic use in general. Like, when we went and got McFlurries at McDonald's, they had a wooden spoon and we were like, oh, this is weird, this is different. And you guys told us, no, we used to have those plastic spoons too. We got rid of them because we are trying not to use single
So much
plastics.
plastic, yeah.
And it's like, that makes sense. We should probably do that too.
Probably.
But do you think McDonald's in the US will?
No, probably not.
Not probably. No, not
At least not anytime soon.
anytime soon.
Sadly.
Yeah. But it has. It's made me, I think, kind of, take a step back. Like, we went to a gas station and we were going to get drinks. And it's like, they're still using styrofoam.
In some,
which,
yeah.
It's more of a southern thing. Like, I don't think the North really does it as much. But
Not as much.
we still use styrofoam, which is like,
Not as much, but it's definitely there for sure. Especially at, like, I think, what is it called? Dairy Queen, that gas station? I forgot, but they use it a lot up in the north for sure.
not only bad for the environment, but I think it can cause cancer. Like, it's cancerous. And we're still...
Majority of the stuff going on in the U.S. causes that. Let's be real. Majority. Things that we don't even... Like, come on, that's crazy out here.
Actually,
putting drinks in it all the time, It's just, I feel much more aware of those things now that we're back. Spending time in the UK and Europe, it's been kind of eye-opening to recognize, like, the things that we don't do as well in the US and the ways that we should change our own habits.
that makes sense.
I also said, apparently I put 2 number ones. Funny story. There are 2 number ones because I actually made my whole list askew, and number 10 was listed as number 9. So there were 2 number ones, but it's because the second number 1 was actually number 2. I think it kind of ties into everything we've been talking about, and that's just kind of being a more considerate human. I think that, and not to say that people in the US aren't considerate people, but I think that there is just culturally a mentality of, like, I look out for myself and I take care of myself, where I think that
I'm glad she said it, because I be saying that, and like I said, there's some angels for sure. Some angels out here, but in general, as a whole, It's kind of like it's a hustle, get out my way, dog eats dog kind of mentality that you find more than you find people that are more, I guess, kind.
Is not as much the case in the UK. I mean, other countries as
Yeah.
well. But I mean, you look at things like healthcare and like the tipping culture of the US, and I think it's made me realize like, oh, I want to be a more considerate human that looks out for other people and isn't just as concerned with myself. Not that I thought that I ever was like that. I just feel like, I just feel like it made me recognize that as a culture, that's kind of how we are. As I was planning this video and really thinking of, you know, what habits and feelings and like what of the British culture have I really adopted and feel like I want to make it my own. And I think some things like game shows I really, really like. And then there are just, other things of feeling like I want to be more conscious about the environment or the food that is in the supermarket. And so it's been a very, I don't know, interesting introspection for me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as well. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe, please. It definitely does help us out. Thank you to our patrons for supporting our channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, there is a link below. And if you haven't seen it, you should watch the video when we first got back from our very first UK trip, talking about the things that we love about the UK, because I think that's a pretty interesting video, and maybe some of you newer people have not seen it yet. Go check it out. It'll be right here. Yeah, right here. We'll see you over there.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but they definitely earned a subscribe from me. What's crazy though is like, I feel like as far as with Americans and why we kind of have a more so we're out for ourselves mindset, I feel like it's because when you really look at how America was even just built, everything was about race, to the point where people still argue so much about it today. But everything was about race and being on the top racially and this person over there and segregation and I feel like that certain mindset is kind of ingrained in the culture, like a competition type of mindset, to the point where even though we're past certain things with laws where we're integrated now and stuff, people still kind of carry on like this competitive, just I gotta get it for mine, kind of mindset. And then you get all this stuff that you always hear about, grind and hustle hard and all this. It's just competitive, get out my way, I gotta get it first. That's culturally, that's more so the culture. But like I said, there still is a lot of angels for sure. Man, that was a long, nice video. They definitely earned like I said, they earned a subscribe from me for sure. They definitely like spirit twins there. They were awesome. And man, I'd say the craziest thing for me, let me wipe my nose. The craziest thing for me was eating with a fork, probably. Yeah, eating with the fork and the knife. Like I can't picture that. But I'm sure there's some good people out there in the UK that'll be like, okay, here, that'll show me how to do that. But yeah, we pretty savage in America when it comes to how we eat our food. We just tear it up. That's the name of the game there. It's crazy they were talking about all that heat. We're in the middle of a heat wave as I speak right now. As y'all can see, I'm sweating like crazy. The heat wave today, I'm not even trying to go outside and get a migraine. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing reactions all day. With that being said, original link in the description. And I will see y'all soon. Much love.